And so, I had written a whole bunch of questions for him, and I think that as we get further into the show, I think there's a lot of DHF oriented questions. And I think some of those are healthy to just talk in general to everybody about. So I think some of the questions I had for block trade specifically, we will use in the latter half of our discussion today. But anyways, we like to start the Crypto and Cola show with general crypto things that are going on, and I guess one of the more exciting things that happened last week was the president of Argentina aided in a meme coin rug pull. It's kind of a fascinating little sub story. Anybody hear on that out there?
I saw a headline about it, but I haven't seen the details. Do you have the details?
Know a bit of the details. I don't. You know what I missed in the thing was I missed how the group got him to do it. Like, so I wasn't clear if the rug pulling coin, which I believe was called Libra, I wasn't clear exactly like where the connection was, like what made him put out that post. That then got a lot of people to invest, and then within 3 hours, it was gone. So, did anybody hear like exactly how he got the president to do
I
that?
did.
All right.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
So apparently, it's a lot of a lot of pieces moving around. So it's not like there was one guy that launched the coin, and that's about it. There's like 3 or 4 organizations involved. So yes, there was one that was supposed to launch a coin. I don't know if it should have been labeled a meme coin, since the whole point of the coin was to get their DAO project started, which was handled by another organization in Argentina. And then there was another organization that was kind of like in charge
We're
of
losing you,
developing the
JZ. Can you come closer to the mic?
Yeah. Can you hear me better now?
There, that's better.
Yeah, waiting from the car. So yeah, there was another organization was supposed to get the AI platform to disperse the DAO funds. So the whole goal of this, I guess, partnership was to fund Argentinian development in the country. So that's the way it was presented to it, and that's why he basically said, "Okay, this is a good project that has a future, that was going to bring investment into the country, and it's going to fund startups on the blockchain." And at least that's the way it was portrayed and verified by the guy that launched the Libra coin. Now, that's all up to that point. Everything is good. They launched the coin, and this is where things get a little bit messy, which he argued that there were sniper bots, which if anybody involved with meme meme tokenomics, sniper bots are basically cloud bots that will sell and trigger like basically massive sales on a coin and deflate it. So the way right now is that the guy that launched the coin has the $100 million, but it's not. He doesn't really. There need to be like some kind of consentment on how to disperse these funds, because either the whole thing is dissolved or they're going to have to reimburse the investors, or they're going to have to basically burn the tokens and just forget about the project, just let it be. So that's what happened as far as the guy that was interviewed by Kofi Sila was saying.
So I've noticed there's been a reference made in the text that it wasn't a rug pull, it was a pump and dump. So let's not assume that everybody in here is totally crypto literate. And somebody explain the difference between a pump and dump and a rug pull. Anybody want to jump into that?
I think pump and dump is when everybody like get like insiders to put money, and then when everybody let the long tail start investing, they sell all their tokens. And a rug pool. Uh, Basically, the guy that made the token just once he's satisfied, he just sells everything. I think there was a famous kid, like a 10-year-old kid, that was rug pulling everybody like a few months ago. I don't know if everybody saw the memes that they were circulating on X. But I think this is also why I think it's a little bit weird. Meme coins usually rug pull. It's common on the meme economy for meme coins to rug pull. I don't think uh, I don't think it's that easy to do it on when you have like a DAO, because the whole point of a meme coin is that there is no project. Well, this one has a project.
Yeah, we saw the guy, that kid with the middle finger to everybody, being like, oh my god," which to me that is it's the meme that represents like all meme coins. It's like the perfect thing, just like a child giving us all the finger. It's like classic.
Anybody else want to make a comment on the difference between rug pull and pump and dump?
Yes, I feel compelled because meme coins are not rug pulling. I haven't heard of the first meme coin. The rug pull is when they remove the liquidity. Because the price goes down, we have associated these terms with the price going down. That's not a rug pull. When the person has a whole bunch of tokens and they dump them on your head, that's not a rug pull. A rug pull is when they pull the liquidity out and there's no liquidity left. So whether the price going down is a scam or not is an open question. And I do think a large majority of these meme coins are scams. The mention to sniper bots is, I mean, there's thousands of coins a minute or something. It's ridiculous. This is money laundering, and anybody who gets caught up in it is foolish. But is it a rug pull? No. You were an idiot. They were going to, this is how it works. It's not a rug pull. I mean, it gets my goat.
So is it more succinct to call it a snipe, like sniped? The money got sniped. Is that more accurate than
It's
rug
a
pull?
scam. What
Okay,
is this
okay.
technology supposed to do?
Addicted begs to differ on that. Addicted, can you come on voice?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you seem to be disagreeing. So state your perspective, please.
I mean, not really. You, sh- I just that want to attack the supplier in the situation. Attacking like it is not the fault of people that supply demand. Like it's not really their fault. It's the children trying to get a X 1,000 gain. Everyone running around like complete degenerates. Like it's ridiculous. Like stop buying the tokens. Like that's the answer is to stop participating. But we're like, no, it's the suppliers that are providing addicts with the crack that are the problem. It's like, no, it's the crack addicts. They're like we gotta fix the crack addicts. There's something else going on there.
So I
I
noticed your
don't
comment.
agree.
Meme coins
I
are
don't.
not scams because they aren't promising anything. I have a very nice basket of rocks here if anyone wants to buy them. And that
Yeah,
actually is how I kind of think about a meme coin is
they're not it's not
somebody just
illegal.
created something and said, "Here, buy it."
Yeah, it's like if I create a garbage and I say, "Hey, buy my garbage," I didn't scam you. You just bought garbage. What are you doing?
Yeah, you made your choice.
But I think there's value, subjective value in some of these meme coins. There's famous Dogecoin, Pepe Coin, uh, the other dog, Weef. I don't know how many other meme coins are on the top market. And it's because people didn't sold off completely. I mean, like all altcoins, there is a spike in price, and then there is a a sudden drop. Also, we've seen that on DeFi. Doesn't mean that the project is completely abandoned after the price spiked. So I don't think just because the chart looked the same, it means that the same story happened. This is just speculation. People over speculate at the beginning, and then the market just stabilized. And it might be a long drawn to zero for some people. It might not be. It might take forever. But I think that the difference is that sometimes there's people that will hold on to those assets, like what happened with Dogecoin. Dogecoin has outlived how many coins that had real projects in real life, and Dogecoin has never really had a project behind it, yet it's still on the top 100 coins. So I don't think just because it's a meme coin, it should be called, well, it's a scam, it's money laundering and all that stuff, and everything is dead and everything is a scam, because a lot of people have made money many times on the same coin. So it doesn't mean that it's an abandoned project.
Doge is not really comparable to any of these meme coins because Doge is the only POW coin out there. Like, even though it's a meme, it's mined. And the funny thing about Doge is that it has more inflation allocated to mining than any other POW coin because it doesn't have a halving event, right? So like they're actually allocating more to security than any other coin on the entire market, which is hilarious to me. But some of these meme coins are fair. Some of these meme coins had fair launches, and that's why some of them have like legs because there's like liquidity locked in the pools, like there's slow drips. And then all the ones that we've been seeing recently are just like, oh, let me just give myself 80% of the pre-mine and dump it on people's heads. And like the people buying this stuff, they don't care what's happening in the background. They're just buying the token blind
I mean,
on everything.
here in High, we have a lot of meme coins. There's pizza, there's LOL, there's life, there's coffee. And these coins have not gone away just 5 minutes after they were launched because people still use them. The value, we can argue about that, but it doesn't mean that the project in itself is completely abandoned. I think there's a big distinction when it's just like a scam that just lasts like a weekend, and then there are projects that will go on regardless if the price went up or down.
So if I'm understanding correctly here, a rug pull, the value disappears, the project's pretty much gone. Where with a meme coin, it's simply gone down in value. Does that about sum it up?
I don't know. I would say a rug pull is that there's so many coins that you can dump that the price can never come back because if anyone puts money into it, the person still has coins to dump. Like,
Okay, I get you.
or like sometimes there's like infinity coins when you rug pull. It's like, oh yeah, if you try to pump it, it's gonna get, yeah, everything's gonna be gone.
So,
Yeah, it makes
so
sense.
let's pivot this into a slightly wider thing that I'm sort of noticing in crypto in general. There seems to be this last week, and I think Addicted touched into it a bit last week, but with his talk of like seeing a correction coming for Bitcoin, but in general, in the murmurs, I seem to be noticing people talking about like alt season is dead. There's no alt season this bull market. The bull market is over. We actually just had it, and it's already on its way down. Talk of that Bitcoin hasn't like I'm not a good technical analyst, but these key lines are not being crossed, and Bitcoin is going to correct even. I've been seeing even further than the 20% that was being talked about last week. So I'll open this up to everybody in 2 seconds, but I see all this stuff, and I'm just like, when everybody starts talking Downersville like that, I'm just like, I should probably be thinking about buying now. But anyways, anybody got any thoughts on the overall doldrums of people whining about the market and it not behaving like how they want it to moon?
Some of this also
Thing.
has to do with the fiat market's effect on it as well, and things are pretty uncertain right now. Things are very unsettled. And I think that's having an effect on the crypto as well.
The
I
children
think
who
the market
complain
is doing good. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
the children who complain about this being the top have never been right, ever.
So for the record, this is like my fourth bull run, and it's doing exactly what it always does. So there's just like side market, and people complain because there's side market. Although I do see a point in the way that alt season haven't really happened. So a lot of people are most invested in alts, and the bull market is not really there yet for the altcoins.
Like psychologically, this is just the perfect place to be right now. Like everyone's so demoralized. It's a good time to buy. But I don't know. I still think Bitcoin can go down to like 80K, which would suck.
You mean down to 80K before it bounces back up, or just it could go down, period?
Like down, like immediate dip.
Mm-hmm.
There is a CMC gap on 76K. So CMC gaps is what with the movement that Bitcoin does during the weekend, where the CMC or the commodity market is closed. And usually these gaps get filled up sooner or later. So even though it's way down to 76, that could validate a flash drop that will close the gap eventually.
Did you say CMC or CME?
CME, I'm sorry. Yeah. Commodities exchange. Yeah.
I didn't realize there was an actual gap there. That's not good.
I'll try to
So
share the chart.
Ed has made an interesting comment. He says, "I'm curious. I'm somewhat curious if we ever get a broad spectrum alt season again. It seems like attention and capital is spread too thinly across too many tokens or chains right now. What do you think?"
I think Bitcoin is strong enough to fuel all the scams, just like it has done every cycle. Like, it's crazy.
I think that well, this is a lot of if, but if the strategic Bitcoin reserve gets started anytime soon, that might stampede other sovereign funds to start their own. I know Texas already has one going, and I heard France already and Italy are already buying like €1 million, which is nothing in Bitcoin. So if the U.S. gives it a go and it provokes a lot of countries to announce their own strategic reserve, that could basically take off all the liquidity in the market and might make it really scarce. Will shoot the price really up to like 500 or something like that.
Somebody tried
I
to
think
buy 69 million Hive. I kind of think it might move up.
I think the problem we're having right now is that people, not that people aren't buying, it's that a lot of people are selling. Like the entire market's been waiting for 5 years, so it's just got a lot of selling. Like I have a chart here I saw today too. I'm gonna post it.
And so we can obviously assume if Bitcoin is going to go down, Hive will follow it fairly equally. Um, so I guess if Bitcoin goes to 80 in this world where Bitcoin goes to 80, where does Hive go to?
That's a slippery slope.
Ah,
I've tried to do that whole thing, like, oh well, if Bitcoin goes up, everything's gonna go, and it's like, no, it's just so much easier to predict what Bitcoin's gonna do and not really anything else.
but
Also,
I
if
mean
it
we
flash
we
crash,
would go
it,
down.
if a flash crash means that it's going to immediately go up, so I don't see why Hive will actually suffer. It might be just too slow, and by the time people decide to sell, the Bitcoin is already going all the way up. So I don't know, but I don't think Hive will react that fast to a flash crash.
Hive is kind of uncorrelated to Bitcoin a lot of the times. It'll just spike out of nowhere and then bleed. And even if, it doesn't matter what other stuff is doing, it just does its own thing.
So as we kind of pivot into the second half of this show, something that we touch into often is our reward pool and the way that we reward users, the DHF, the value plan kind of through the DHF. I'm interested in just briefly talking about how much do those things truly affect the overall price. Basically, it, if we're rewarding all these users, and we got thousands of people from Venezuela and Nigeria and all these places that they're never investing. We've got the DHF throwing money into various proposals, and those people are using it to pay their devs and what are their running costs. All of that money and all of that sell pressure, does it really have an effect on Hive's price, or is Hive's price much more controlled by what's going on in Upbit and all of the actual markets, all the stuff that we don't see staked, all the stuff that we don't even really see much in the wallets of users? Anybody want to talk a little bit about that?
There's like a market cap ratio where sometimes it's 0, but sometimes it's like 100. So sometimes, if you put a bunch of money into an asset, it won't go up at all because people are selling it. But sometimes when you put money into an asset or extract money from an asset, it'll go, like, the market cap will go up or down 100 times as much as you put in. So you could put in like $10 million and it'll go up $1 billion in market cap, because people get greedy. That happens a lot in the 4-year cycle. People get greedy when it's going up. No one's selling. That's why it keeps going up. So like you have to look at how much money something like the DHF is extracting. And when people aren't buying, the effect on the market cap is going to be X 100. So if the DHF spends $1 million and no one's buying, it's going to lower the market cap by $100 million.
Well, that's a pretty serious effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really apply to the current market cap because our market cap's like what, like 150 or 160 or something. So it's not going to go down 100 from here, but like if Hive was, it just depends. Like once we get to a certain level, like 10 cents when everyone's buying, so you can't, the ratio goes away. Doesn't really matter how much you sell at like 10, 20 cents because people are just gobbling.
I also think that there is really not a circular economy market for HBD. So having a demand for the HBD token is something that will get people to invest on the network, regardless if it's called depth inside HTPD. But the problem that we don't have really a massification of this coin is another way that we're not growing. I mean, we could exploit it. We could like really market it out there, but we need venues to market it. So more technology. I don't know if you guys saw the NFC card that Starker published last week. He was here in El Salvador, and we went to different stores, and we were buying with the NFC card using the B4V bridge to Lightning Network. So we were able to go and buy coffee and buy juices and dinner and all that with this NFC card. And it was just tap and pay and on a way. So technically, if we get more like massive adoption of either Bitcoin or HBD, we could get more people involved into buying this stable coin. Because this is what I think Bitfinex has grown so much, because they created Tether, and Tether now is on so many different chains, and just really a lot of money being moved through Tether, whatever is on Tron or Ethereum or Solana or all these other chains.
So Menos raised a interesting question that I don't know the answer to, so maybe someone else does. Is the reason HBD not on many exchanges is due to legal issues with the dollar pegged assets? Or does anybody know what the reason is?
Yeah, when when Luna collapsed to zero, like they created some crazy laws that made it so that algos are basically like illegal. I think it'll get rolled back during the Trump admin. We'll have to see. There's not really a high do it because there's not a lot of algo coins or like demand from bigger communities to roll back that regulation. Like, oh, I'm just gonna roll everything. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, Luna isn't completely gone. It's still around.
Yeah, but the peg is.
Something that we touched into a handful of weeks ago, but I always just like to come back to some of these thoughts. HBD, the 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 largest threats to HBD, I think as a Hive user, sometimes I feel, oh, we've got a stabilizer. And in fact, like, I have a friend who, like, argues with me a little bit about these subjects, and I'm like, no, but you don't understand, we have a stabilizer and it really helps. And then I realize I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And then, like, and I'm just like, it's just wishful thinking that I think that the HBD is safe. Like, who out there, like, is HBD safe, and what would it take to take it down? What would it take? What would have to happen to take it down?
So if you go back around the time that of the Luna collapse, buttcoins, Taskmaster wrote some very detailed posts about the difference between Luna and Hive.
Yeah,
Those
so did
were
I.
probably.
How long have you been around? Were you around when it depegged to 60 cents? Like the Steam days?
I've been here since 2017, so I saw the craziness with going up and down. I saw Steam back dollar at $16, and yeah,
Yeah,
but
it was, I think
but
it
they
was
didn't have the
13.
stabilizer. But they didn't have the stabilizer, the magic stabilizer.
The stabilizer is not what fixes that. It's the conversion. We added the conversion from Hive to HBD. That's what stops it from depegging to the upside, which it depegging to the upside was way worse. It was really bad. It made it so the depeg to the downside was like exponentially worse. It like fishtailed back to negative 60 cents, and we were there for a while, and then we hit negative 60 cents again. But that's like the worst it's going to get. Like the worst depeg we're ever going to get is like negative 60 cents. And in the current, like the current information available, Hive would have to be like 5 cents for it to depeg that hard. Maybe like 4 cents, 3 cents. Like it's not going to happen.
So you're saying that in order for it to depeg from the dollar to the downside would take Hive going to an incredibly low price. That's what
Yeah.
it would take.
Have you gone to the websites that show it, like Hive Monitor, Hive HBD stats?
Yeah, I click into them, but I'm not really a math brain. I'm more of a kind of
Right.
human anthropology, sociology brain more. And so I kind of like look at that, and it's just, it's like I tried it. I try to make my brain think of it, but it's not where my brain naturally wants to go.
Yeah, it says it right here though. Here, let me copy it. It says Hive median price must stay above 6.5 cents to avoid haircut. And that's the worst case scenario where we get to 6.5 and no HBD has been converted yet. But it works. A bunch of HBD gets converted as we lose price on the token. So like it would be more like 4 or 5 cents maximum it has to get to before HBD starts depegging. But I would say the biggest threat is success. that's how Luna collapsed. It's because all these VCs came in with their billions of dollars, and they said, "Oh, this is free money. This is a free, risk-free 20% yield." And that's what collapsed it. The demand for quote risk-free 20% yield is what created a situation where their debt ratio was unsustainable, and then it death spiraled out of control, which can't really happen to Hive because we don't have immediate conversions, but it could be bad.
So it also didn't help with Luna that when it did start, the stable coin started to drop. There was a trigger in the chain that made it print the Luna at a faster rate. So at the bottom end of the mess, they ended up with some supply somewhere up around 5 billion Luna. I think it was like 4 or 5 times larger than the original volume.
Yeah, it was a full-on death spiral. So
Yeah.
what happened was is that the like I said, it's that market cap ratio I was talking about. So they owed like billions of dollars, but the ratio wasn't 1-to-1. So like Luna was being dumped, but the amount that they could extract from the market cap was way less than the amount of USD it was showing on the market cap, which is kind of hard to explain. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, that's their debt ratio went from like 50 to 80% to 200%, and then once it was like 200, 300, 400, it's like, oh, it's dead. And then it just went to like 2,000%, 20,000%, and it was over.
So that's why sometimes I talk to the people in Cuba, in Venezuela, in Nigeria, that they should do the selling of the APR of the, I think now it's 15%, which is still high. And I think a lot of people should sell this to peer-to-peer people, because I was supposed to Luna that attracted super huge funds dumping billions. I think the more peer-to-peer way of saying, hey, you can invest here and we'll give you 15% or 13% or whatever, but just to individuals as opposed to funds in the US, that will make it as a way for Hive to organically grow in a faster pace, but not at a insane pace that will break the algorithm. So that's why I keep thinking or saying that this is a huge opportunity for people to do just basically microfinance, I guess, or microfinance instrument selling on their location, because the liquidity is not that huge, and it's a measure we can take. I mean, the network can take, and it's a value that we can distribute to communities, while growing at the same time, because now they're investing in Hive. They're not just cashing out the minute they generate any value.
So we're talking about people extracting their blog rewards. Is that what we're saying? We want to
Supposed to
avoid that.
be people selling their Hive. Yeah, supposed to be people selling their rewards in Hive. They could go out and sell to their neighbor or their friend, to saying, hey, if you invest in HBD, we can give you 13% on your investment. And, just basically selling 5, 6, 10 people that they know, and everybody can just benefit from the APR, and it's not gonna generate a huge amount of 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 I guess money coming into the chain that will break it. It's more organic that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think needs better jobs. Like we always complain about people getting rewards and then selling them, but you know, uh, would you get mad at someone for working at a company and not owning that company's stock? Like how much like we need our users to generate more value is what I'm
Yes,
hearing.
but
Like
it's not a blogging engine anymore. I mean, the blogging engine and the reward and all that game theory is just one face of Hive. The other face of Hive is basically a financial vehicle. So if you look at like as a financial vehicle, you can start up your own bank, basically saying, hey, I have a financial vehicle that give you 12, 13, or whatever you want to give back APR a year, which is better than whatever your bank is giving you, and you should invest in it. So now you're getting money draw into the network as opposed to just money leaving the network because you're selling your rewards. You're actually making money with Hive as a financial instrument sales guy.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if we could stop people or if we could get money to come in from the outside, but in the long term, we have to create a circular business model where we have employees, like our users, are generating more value than they paid, like a corporation. Uh,
So
and we
instead
don't.
of cashing the hive out, they're able to actually use it in things that they need. So that it becomes a complete economy.
Yeah. So when people talk like this, I'm thinking what you're really saying is that the blogs we're creating are not as valuable as what they're being paid. Like we're overpaying our blockers is what I'm hearing, which
Yeah,
you
I
could make
mean,
that
it
art.
used to be the rewards used to be way better back then. Remember, like the Steam, the very first years, a lot of people were traveling the world and they were getting $1,000 per post. So rewards have definitely fluctuate, and right now, I don't think they're in any way or close to a good place for people to make a living out of blogging. So I think just the network has evolved, and right now it's something good to have, but it's not gonna support yourself. You have to actually get into different aspects of the chain to make money.
Who remembers downvoted for aggrandizement?
Absolutely. First time I ever heard that word.
You're like aggrandizement. Yeah, that shit was crazy.
Yeah, we touched in we were like talking a little bit about this last week, just this idea that we have to just reframe the reason why people would want to come on and blog. We basically got to do something closer to the trick that is pulled by Facebook and Twitter and all of these places where people come on and they freely give away their input and don't expect anything. That nobody expects anything from any of those places, but because Hive and Steam for so long was just like, join, you can make money, you can earn money through blog, it like sets us up to fail. And until we can kind of redevelop or reframe the reasons why you would want to come on and blog, and if that's the direction you want to come on, because obviously there's other reasons to come on, but if we want to find more retaining of users, then we need to reframe that concept that, like, oh, come here to make money and earn money from your blog. It's not really. It's just that just needs to be sort of like a cherry on the top. Oh, a bonus, people checked out my post and I made a little bit of money. That's where it needs to start resonating. um so
Right.
let's just, unless somebody's dying to continue that discussion, today we were going to be having block trades on, and unfortunately he was not able to make it. But that does not change the fact that block trades did some really interesting things this week, and the it shook the Hive world, in a way that I haven't seen something like that, like just a little bit of that behind the scenes drama and getting everybody thinking and talking. And so I think, let's switch gears into this direction, for a split second, and talk about how block trades voted the entire DHF, the proposal for returning the money, down, and that pushed it up into the 60 million range, and then the next day he pulled a bipolar move and unvoted it. And so, there's a whole bunch of questions that we had lined up for him. And some aspects are just even deeper understandings of the purpose of the DHF. Throughout this week, I've heard people, I've just kind of heard murmurings of people discussing like, well, it should have been eliminated. There shouldn't even be a DHF. The DHF ruins innovation and competition. The DHF needs more specific obligations and needs to be run more like a business. And if a project is funded, they need to hit like 1, 2, 3, like every
K-
single person funded needs this. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just said KPIs, key performance indexes. You got to hit
Yes,
these.
they got to hit these KPIs and they need to show it. So these are all like bits and bobs that have bubbled up. So I think when these drama moments happen, they're real moments where we can catch and harness this energy and really keep that dialogue going and keep this discussion going. Because if there's anything, and I'll throw this out at Eco Instance, he nailed it in a conversation he was having the other day of just, if anything, the most important thing that's going on out of all this is that we're all talking about it again. We're all coming out and sharing our opinions and engaging with each other. And I would like to see all of these funded projects. They should have to talk to people. They shouldn't get this funding and then just disappear into a little black hole being like, I'm doing my dev thing, leave me alone. There should be a constant engagement from the community. Maybe this is the community's fault. Maybe this is the DHF's fault for not having parameters, and maybe it's somewhere in between. But at least we're talking about it. So
I
I
think
I
one of
let
the things that
yeah,
has
go for it.
really stood out with me with what Eco has done is he took the step, and yeah, he reversed it later, but not only has he got people talking, but they're talking in a thoughtful way. Usually when something like this happens, people take sides and there's a big fight going on and nobody's listening to anybody. But what I'm seeing, especially when I go out and take a look at the posts, there's thoughtful conversation going on. Nobody is particularly upset at the fact that Block Trades did the upvote on the return proposal, and even for that matter that he removed it. But I love the conversation that has developed around it. I've seen some ideas come forward. My question is that many good ideas. Do we have a mechanism that those ideas could actually be fleshed out and implemented? Don't everybody answer at once.
Technically, those ideas will get a blog post with a larger development of a project because ideas in itself are not fully developed projects. So these will have to get written down and published like a white paper esque or an RFS, referral for documents, RFC, sorry, somewhere, and then evolve into code or whatever. At least that's the way open source works.
Like, I think it'd be great to apply business principles, but I think first of all you'd have to agree as to what the business principles are, and then flesh out exactly how they're going to be applied, and then get the buy-in from the community that they're going to follow them. So in a way, we
Sometimes
kind of
you
need a
don't need
mechanism,
agreement.
but we're not
Sometimes
centralized
you
enough
don't
for that. Sorry, go ahead, JZ.
Yeah, so sometimes you don't need agreement. You just need the code, So the first one to get the code done and ready to ship is the one that usually uh, face front the project. Why? Because it's the best solution available.
Who decides that it's going to be coded and how it's going to be coded?
That's the base of meritocracy. I mean, it's not just ideas. I mean, ideas doesn't really work because they're just abstract concepts. Code is what works. So if
Mm-hmm.
you can have a great idea, but if you don't know how to code it, it's not implementable. It's not never going to work just because the idea is amazing. So at least I'm talking here with my open source hat, of course. So the best idea is the one that is already working or the one that you can actually make it work with code. And that's like so there's two layers of, I guess, the fight. One is the fight for who has the best ideas. The real fight and the last solution is who's the one that actually can make the idea work in code fastest.
So I guess my question would be is it even feasible to integrate KPIs into the DHF? And if it is possible, why was it left out to begin with?
It's a lot of complexity.
But possible.
Yeah, it's just like getting people to agree on every little detail would be pretty tough.
Is it possible to is it not possible to say have the DHF in the form that it is, but can't the can't there be things outside of code? So couldn't a like a list of obligations for any funded organization could be posted and written in a written non-coded form, that if these things are not followed, if there's not like at least a quarterly post on progress, an end of the quarter accounting, some basic, some super basic normal things. Why couldn't that just be written
Yeah, that's
alongside?
called politics and bureaucracy, and nobody wants that, especially engineers.
So just so what is the answer? We just here at Hive, we just give the money away and we hope they use it correctly. What is that? Like, what's going on? Like,
No,
what,
come
like,
with the code to prevent that. Come with the alternative code to make it work better.
So Eco has said, why are engineers in charge? I'm assuming they're in charge because they can write the code.
Exactly. Now you're getting why we're in technology and not politics and stuff.
Yeah, it's tough when people are acting alone and not in a corporate structure, because a lot of these devs are super, they don't want to, they just want to, and grind out code. They don't want to have to deal with any of the other stuff like the politics and the KPIs and stuff.
Yeah, it's called open source because the source is open, and if you don't like it, change the code. But if you don't touch the code, then you not really have a say.
Yeah, what's that thing that Bitcoiners say? It's
You're not suggesting that we might be sounding like Bitcoiners?
no, I'm referencing how Greenpeace was saying that Bitcoin wastes energy and to change the code, make it like Ethereum. They're like, code the change then. Be my guest. Like, that's what Bitcoin responded to that.
You know the only thing I'm going to say about this is I don't know if you guys ever worked for a software company, like as a developer, this KPIs thing can get pretty ridiculous if it can get out of hand. So I guess my point is, if it was ever to be implemented, and you kind of come up with a system of I don't know what you would call it, a coding governance. I don't know what you would call it. It also has to be taken into account that the it's really easy to make it super fat and inefficient. You know, I worked for a company where the most of the time you spend uh, with looking at numbers, how many pull requests you've done, and justifying the things that you've done to somebody who then has to do charge for somebody who's on top, who has to do charge for somebody who's on top, and then you do meetings about the meetings that you had to discuss a meeting that's going to happen on Friday, and they can get really crazy. So now, this is not to say the idea of coming up with a governance system that you could control what's happening on the blockchain doesn't make sense. It makes sense, but I would love to hear somebody do like a white paperish kind of thing, like an outline of how that would look, um, in like the minimum viable product sort of way. Like it would do this, and then I'm gonna say something stupid right now. This makes no sense, but just to give you an idea what I mean by that. I mean, like, okay, if you have these uh, this percentage of whatever percentage of the funds that you're giving, we're gonna use these equations to give us the amount of lines you have to be coding and the amount of pull requests, and that's how we measure like you are actually doing something. And then if it doesn't do it, then the you see what I mean? Something like that. Because if not, it's kind of ethereal. It's just this idea like, yeah, we can need to check. Of course we need to check, but like, what are we talking about? What are we checking, and how are we doing that without creating watchers on top of watchers on top of watchers, and then creating a political system that is just fat and everybody needs to be paid, because if not, they're not going to do anything, and also you are vulnerable to corruption. That's what I
I
want
mean,
to say. All right, I'm quiet now.
go ahead, Addicted.
The bloat threat is very high because
Yeah.
like we see how corporations do this kind of stuff. Like a CEO will resign and then the new one will come in and he'll fire the best, like most competent workers because they cost the most, and then he'll make the KPIs look great, and then he'll leverage this great job that he did to get a new position, and then the company is just totally screwed and they go bankrupt.
So we have these two factors. We have the bloat threat, and then we have what we have. But what we have, I feel like, is clearly like missing something as well. So I can agree with the bloat threat, and I don't even necessarily think I'm like looking for some massive KPI list. But right now it's just so vague, like between the way the value plan doles out money and DHF. It's just there's just no wraparound control. So I mean, there just seems like there has to be a happy medium, like just like some real basic simple metrics that are expected.
Yeah, but value plan exists because of this guy, forgot his name, and that's what he wants to do with his coins. So if you don't agree with that, then talk to him. I mean, otherwise, really, I mean, that's the only way it exists. If you
value
don't like the
va-
way it
Value
exists,
plan
then
is funded by the
talk-
DHF, as far
right.
as I know. Is that
Yeah, but who upvotes the most?
I mean, block
Talking
trades.
about block trades?
Yes.
It might be inappropriate to talk about block trades since he agreed to come here and maybe explaining the situation eventually.
Exactly. So if people want to talk to block trades, then that's the way it will change if there is any change. But I
Well,
mean,
when we issued the invitation to block trades, what we asked him for was if he would be willing to share his rationale, um, why he chose to upvote and then down or not downvote, but remove the vote. It wasn't anything along the lines of explaining himself. It was just more like, "What you thinking?" And either we agree or we don't agree, sort of thing. And we're still hopeful that that could happen, but not today because he's in the middle of a storm.
so I guess we can save that topic for next week. Hey,
Hopefully, yeah.
And
I
what
think
and what a God, God.
I think the way we think about the DHF is perhaps not the best. Um, a lot of the things being funded in the DHF are like, well, we want to fund this because it has value work, but it doesn't have any measurable value. Like, and it's never going to generate a return. So it sounds like a lot of people are wanting to like flip that and be like, no, we want to fund things that are going to generate a measurable return so that we know we're not wasting money. I don't know if other people feel that way.
yeah, in my opinion, coming from Dash, if anybody remembers, they have a DAO as well, and the way they work was more dynamic. The way this DHF, which would be a DAO esque, is very different, and it grows week by week. day by day and doesn't really change that much. And I've seen this even since the um, what's the name, Beach Shares Day. So this DHF, even in EOS as well. I mean, the way that it's structured is really long cycle. The way the DAO work in Dash was every month. So every every 24 days there was a rehash of all the proposals, and all the proposals were either renew or drop, and they were dropped a lot. Like a lot of them, they were dropped immediately, and sometimes a little bit too fast for the project to grow, which might be the other side of the coin. But the way the DHF works makes it for projects to change very slowly, in my opinion. I mean, they take might take years for a project to be dropped, or at least several months for it to be dropped. So I guess there should be a faster way to rehash projects in the DHF. But like I said previously, hey, it will be great. Write up the code.
And when we look at this picture here of block trades, this brings up this subject matter that I did have written in my question. Uh, like, hey, block trades, without any offense, are you the biggest threat to Hive's decentralization? um, I've seen a few arguments that actually, if all of the active all of the Hive power that was out there was active, then he is much less of a threat to the decentralization. But the reality is that there's a lot of Hive power that is not active and hasn't been used or used for any um, votes or anything like this in a long time. And so because of that, he is a threat to Hive's decentralization. Does anybody have anything to say about that?
Well, I would suggest that anybody but block trades holding that kind of hive power could be a threat. I have a hard time even thinking of block trades in that tone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
and
saying in an open tone. I'm definitely not saying an accusatory, just more
okay,
numbers wise.
it could be you could argue that it's a centralization threat to Hive, but you can't really argue that it's a centralization threat to the community because we can always do what we did before and fork out all the top accounts and start a new thing. Like we don't want to do that because it would be a disaster, but we could.
This is not something. This is not my thought. Something I actually learned. I don't remember who it was that said it. Maybe I read it in one of Addicted's blogs. To be honest, but I think we also need to walk away from the idea that this whole thing is a binary thing. You know, like there are centralized systems and decentralized systems, and think of it more like a spectrum, because it is. And the idea would be, on an ideal scenario, that more and more we moved the needle in the right direction. That would be the so. In other words, um, if Hive is working, aside from valuation, which of course we tend to hyper focus on, all of us do, um, is are we more and more becoming more decentralized? As slowly as it has been happening, because it's a very slow process. I don't know if you guys remember this. I'm sure the old guys know. Like, I'm sure Marky remembers. But there used to be a lot more gigantic whales on here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more. There was a website. I don't know what's called, Steam Whales. I'm sure it doesn't work anymore. And back in those days, the place was a lot more centralized than it is today. There was absolutely no middle class. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are gone now, but I would suggest. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to think about it in this way, but I would suggest that the people that are still around, you guys, are the middle class that didn't exist before. When I first got on, it was basically just gigantic whales and then tiny little minnows. I think we are moving in the right direction. Um, but it's a work in progress. I don't think there's ever going to be a system that is completely decentralized, meaning that everybody has the same amount of power, same amount of, in our case, obviously, in Hive, because people have situations. Life is what it is, and sometimes you have to sell. Sometimes, life gets in the way of your plan. What is that thing that Mike Tyson said? Everybody's going to plan until you get punched in the face. So, so there's always going to be somebody who, because they're lucky, or maybe they have a position of privilege, or what have you, is able to accumulate more power, and that is kind of the nature of how life works, and we just have to roll with the punches.
Yeah, a ton of stakes since I've been here, and I've been living under the poverty line for my whole life. So I look rich on paper, but I'm very poor.
Nah,
Yeah,
dude.
I'm trying to
Poverty
remember.
is a bit of a mindset too.
Was it Arcane that used to put out the stats posts that talked about, how the um reward, or not the rewards, but the high power was spreading out and becoming better distributed? Was it him
Yeah,
that
and
used to do them?
yeah, and Taskmaster would always report on it.
Yeah.
So it's on the chain somewhere.
And those were interesting to see because he was tracking it from month to month.
Yep, there it is.
And and Lord Butterfly, I see your comment there, which I think is very, it's very much what we were talking about kind of just before you jumped in. But my question to you, or what something we were saying, like, well, what can we Hivians here do in order to sort of rectify that? How would we put not a bloat threat on the DHF, but a basic parameters to help it to be a more effective organization. Do you have any suggestions of what that would look like? What could be done to for Hivians to help make the DHF more effective? Oh yeah, he did. He did. I mean, he's not going to jump on the mic. He can't directly. Do you want to jump on the mic and say what you got to say, or oh, he can't talk right now? Okay, so we'll rain check that for another week, or he's going to write it, but we won't wait for him to write it. All right, folks. Well, we're at the 1 hour mark. We can let this go a little bit longer and keep chatting for a bit longer, but we are nearing it. Does anybody have a burning compulsion to speak something?
I think we've had a interesting range of conversation today, considering we had to move to plan B.
Yeah. It was a fast pivot. We did good. Very good job, Shadows.
It seems nobody has any final comments they want to make.
Nice. Well, I appreciate everybody showing up. And I want to thank Eco, the solver of problems, for recording another show for us, and for everybody who chose to join into our conversations. I don't think we are going to solve anything specifically today, but I do think that this increased dialogue that is happening in the Hive server and in general, I think these are the exact things we need to keep doing in order to try to move that bar, even if it's just step by small step. I personally seek for Hive to succeed for my own personal reasons, that are less money oriented and more just that I want to see Hive and things like Hive succeed in this world, because I like the idea of it better for it feels closer to human based than most things, and so it's why I feel passionate about it, and I appreciate everybody else that comes here and expresses their views and their ideas, that we can just slowly but surely keep nudging Hive in the right direction. Thank you, Shadows. You can close her down.
Hey, thank you everyone for coming today. And I will do a little bit of a plug here. Alessandra White and I are bringing back Hive Space. We're going to be over on the Gold Branch chain platform on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. If you go to Alessandra's post, you'll be able to find all the details on that. We'd love to see you over there. We're going to be talking to Starkers about Distriator. Could be an interesting conversation. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.